be there, well, you'll be there and you'll get that out of it. But if you go to work and to be creative and do things, you'll get 110% right back.
Yeah. Back then, though, it was different. You could see, you know, out of all that video and all, you could see even with me, Stu, and Barbara, that was something that we really put our all into, and it's something that we really enjoyed. You know, and
Most definitely.
things like I said last week, you know, those were so far, you know, two of the best years of my life, and I don't think I'll ever forget that. I just wish that there was more alternatives, you know, today, especially for education. You know, there's, like I said, you know, they're getting more to the point now that they're able to accept what we did then. You know, and I think this is what they're going to be looking for. You know, before the turn of the century, this is the type of education that I think even traditional society is going to start going to.
This is what they want now.
This is it. Yeah,
This is
it.
what they
This is
ask
what they're
for.
looking
They
for.
absolutely
Basically what they're saying is that we were way before our time.
They're saying all those
20 years
people who didn't really know and made their assumptions on what they didn't know are saying now, gee, guys, you were right. Look at that. You were right. And this is what we were telling you all along. So we were really ahead of our time. We really,
We still are.
well, we are.
But the courage that each one of you had, who voluntarily
Right.
signed up to be part of something that was so different. See, that's another thing. You learned to accept difference and to resolve conflicts. That's what everybody in all the schools today need to do, to resolve conflicts, to avoid violence. We had no violence.
Yeah, it was so different. Today the kids forget it. I feel sorry for them. I have a nephew that's in, what is it, the junior high school or whatever, because they start early or whatever, the grades or whatever, and it's scary for him. You know, he's a tiny little guy, and he's taking on all these little cliquey groups and stuff like that. And I would love for him to have a school like this, because he's a very emotional child, likes to be heard. And sometimes you're not always there to hear him, and it's nice so he can come among his peers, or even people like yourselves, you know, teachers, whatever you want to have said you guys to be, but it would be nice for him to have that. Yeah, that was it? I forgot the word. That's right. Yeah, but it would be nice to have that for the children.
I left Margaret Mead's quote in here that about we have to have a place where children can have a whole group of adults that they can trust.
This is true.
And you know what, John? In all the research, because they've done a lot of research on the at-risk kids and kids in general, and it comes out that that is the only thing that makes a difference, is one significant adult. And everything in MT was geared for all the problems that they have today. And I have to tell you, I'm still in awe of them. I am. I really am. I'm still in awe of all of them. You know what Stu said, when you said that that was the end, there was a part of me that got very upset about that. That's not the end. And actually we did graduate in '84, people. And I thought, in a sense, we became closer in some respect, because we were talking about survival, real survival.
Absolutely.
And I felt that. I don't know if anyone else that was with us
Yeah,
did.
for some of us, I think for some of us we felt that with us, and but I think from other points of view, you know, we've seen what that section of the high school was doing to us, where it was just a smaller area. I always was under the firm belief that that where we went, everybody was saying we were going to the high school, we were going to the high school, we were going to this little section and all. I was always under the belief that that wouldn't matter, really wouldn't matter, because structures don't make people, people make people. And, you know, they're still the same, you know, type of people and all. But then you find out later on that, well, some people aren't so sincere and some people aren't exactly what they mean to be. And that's not necessarily bad. It's not, it's human nature. All right, now, and that, towards my last year, was the only time I seen that in a couple of people. But prior to that, even in the village school, I never saw that. I never saw people who were, in my mind, who were, you know, not sincere. I thought everybody was sincere, and I wasn't being naive. People were. People said what was on their mind because they had no, like Karen said, they had no fear of, you know, any sort of repercussion of somebody saying to you, no, well, you're wrong. You know, and I was thinking before when Paul McCartney and Michael Jackson was singing in the background. Now I love Paul McCartney, and I remember an interview that he said once that in his post-Beatles years, somebody was asking him a question, and he says, well, you know, we say all these stupid things, and everybody goes out and we fight and we argue, but the easiest thing to say to somebody who you're arguing with is just stop and say, well, you're right, and that's it. Because if you can see that other person's viewpoint, there really isn't an argument. But like Ray said, I think there was a closeness and all. But like I said, certain people did certain things for their benefit, which you can't blame them for. We were even talking last week with the politics and all. People go to advance themselves and do things that are politically correct, and this is, in some respect, this is my education. In other respects, this is your career or your career. You can't blame me for that at all. You have to do what's good for yourselves. But it was an experience.
What did it feel like? And I know that you accomplished things. I know that you saved lives because people stayed and students were there, so that a lot of good stuff happened.
I stayed a learner, and to this day I still work with students. There is an alternative program, very different from what you had, but I still work with them and learned what goes on at that particular stage of development. So I think that has helped me. I couldn't have given it up, John. You were there already 8 years. And I used to go see John and say, you know, how can you be, you know, how's it working for you here till 2 years ago when you left? I can only think alternatively now. There is no other way I can think, which still gets me into problems. But it's the only way I can think at this point.
I'm glad to hear that.
So it's 14 years. You know, and we do it a little bit differently, but not the way you did it. I don't know if that will ever come. I've visited so many alternative schools still existing on the island, and no one's really doing what was here.
Yes.
But everybody wants it.
Eventually, hopefully,
They do.
it won't be the alternative. It'll be the structure, and the old traditional things will be the alternative, and that will be the greatest thing that can happen. That nothing better could happen.
Definitely. It impact on you because you told me. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I was on a high.
She was
I
very,
like,
very excited.
I called her up.
Did you realize there was a reunion from the classes that we attended when we were at MT, and what do you think? And you want to come? And I'm like, yeah, and how come I didn't get notified? I don't understand.
Well, we're trying to call anybody and everybody you know to get them to come in and make
So
that.
when do you call a news day so they could come here and make that?
It's not a bad idea. I
Why
could
not?
have somebody
I
do
mean, they
that.
wrote so many articles on us. Why shouldn't they?
How long is your mom and dad going to be here, Nathan?
I would assume, I really don't know. Dad's just been through like nasty surgery, so yeah. So they're taking it slow right now. Someone had mentioned just a little while ago how different it was for the staff to go on to, the facilitators, to go on to back to normal education. And it's funny because I never really thought about it while it was happening, how it would affect the staff, only how it would affect the students and the people you helped and worked with. But I'm working at home right now, and I was just thinking about it when that comment was made. If I ever had to go back and work in a regular office and this and that, how would I deal with that? And I kind of got a slight feeling of how it must have felt for the staff to go back to working in a structured education such as the norm. And I didn't like it too much. I didn't like that feeling that just kind of overwhelmed me. Like, gosh, I'm at home all day. I do things the way I want to do them. And it was the same way when I was in MT. The students had a lot more, not so much control, but a lot more say in how they were taught and how things were run and which classes they wanted. Exactly. We had options.
That is control, and that's the issue. That's why there are fights today in schools, because there is such a lack of control, such a sense of powerlessness. That's how it manifests itself. You are living what Alvin Toffler wrote about in 1970 when he said, increasing numbers of people would be working at home.
Be it to be with their children.
Electronic
or
cottage, whatever, but
whatever.
they would be working at home. It would no longer be necessary to commute back and forth. They could do it right there.
I come back to New York every 8 weeks just to check on things, make sure everything, the managers that I work with are doing what's best for them,
Mhm.
you know? It's enjoyable.
Well, listen, as Marge said in the video, things happen in ways that we least expect them to happen.
This is very true.
Thanks. I'm going to my
John,
position.
thank